You are Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It is Locked On Jazz for the 15th of August. The Jazz make a major change to their training staff. I'll explain how it breaks down. Plus, this schedule sucks. And it sucks personally, reality, and in every other manner for the Utah Jazz. We'll talk about it coming up on today's edition of Locked On Jazz. Pow! How are you? I'm David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider. It's the 15th of August, which means we are 2 months basically away from the opening of the NBA season on the 18th of October, home against Nikola Jokic, Paul Millsap, and the Denver Nuggets. Pretty excited for that coming up on 2 months from now. Really, really excited for the season. So, and I just, numerous reasons. But today I'm going to actually gripe a little bit. But I'm also going to talk about the big move the Jazz made yesterday. The bigger news of the day was the hiring of Mike Elliott and what the Jazz did in their training staff, and I'll try to explain that and have it make some sense to you. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Murdoch Hyundai. Blake and the crew there at 4646 South State Street doing great work for you. I'm currently driving the Tucson. There's also the Santa Fe. They've got some special deals going on as well for you that I will let you know a little bit about. Going on August. And our other sponsor today is SeatGeek with the promo code LOJazz. You can get $20 back on your first SeatGeek purchase. So I'll break both those down, tell you a little bit more about them. But let's get into the show. All right, I got a bunch of little tiny things here for you. First, I found out yesterday that my my right-hand man, actually he was my left-hand man, but Rick Miller, who has been the on-site engineer for Jazz broadcasts, is not returning next year. He got a promotion at his job, and it's just too much time, and I'm so bummed. On a personal note, just so bummed. He's just been great. There's no position more important for me than the guy who is controlling what comes out of my mouth and how you guys hear it. And so I couldn't be more thankful to Rick for his time, and just wanted to give him a shout out here. He's a wonderful guy, a good friend, has been really trusted and important to me, and there's no comfort zone that a broadcaster can have more than having the engineer, being comfortable with the engineer. Adrian's done incredible work for us in the studio, and Rick on site. And so I just wanted to send Rick the best, and he's a good friend, so we'll stay in touch. But it's a bummer for me. Second note for you, I was in a brainstorming session yesterday on just the future of broadcasting. Travis Henderson is our vice president. I don't know his exact title, but he's kind of head of broadcasting from TV, and also Emmy Award-winning director and really nationally recognized. Incredible guy. So he was leading this meeting, and we were having just a brainstorm on 1,000 levels of if there's a secondary broadcast you would want, what would it be? What would be your perfect social networking use by the Jazz? Would you want what do you want? Do you want the pregame press conferences via Facebook Live? If you're not able to get games, what do you want? Do you want a Periscope quarter breakdowns each time? Would you want a Facebook Live, postcast? I think we are going to put live at Facebook Live so you can ask questions this year. I think at some point we might get a group together and have a brainstorm session, randomly choose 5 of you and go to lunch. But if you have any thoughts you want to share with us on that, we'd be really interested. So it's just just out of my experience as a Jazz fan would be better if you did what was social networking, if you did a second screen broadcast that was separate than what Bowler and Matt did. How would you want it? What would your wife want if she's a Jazz fan? What would your kids want if they're fans? we're brainstorming. If you have any thought on that, feel free to email me at dlock09@gmail.com, and we'll probably, at some other point, summon some group of you for a group lunch and get your thoughts. All right, so those are two notes off the top. All right, we'll get to the schedule in a second. Let's get to the really important news of yesterday is what the Jazz did with their front office or their training staff yesterday. So the Jazz hire Mike Elliott, who, this is not a household name, but just to give you guys a little bit of an insight on what's going on in the NBA, the Phoenix Suns have always been thought of as one of the premier teams in keeping guys healthy, from Steve Nash to Grant Hill to just players used to want to go there because of this. And he's been there for 14 years, from 2003 to 2017. This is a guy that a lot of teams have tried to hire at different times, and for whatever reason, now was the time for him to move, and the Jazz were able to get him to come from Phoenix. He's both a strength and conditioning guy and a trainer. Here's the best way to kind of describe what it means to be vice president of performance healthcare. So the best way I would describe it to you is to think of Mike Elliott now as the general manager, almost the way you would think of Dennis Lindsay as a general manager to the basketball side. And so he's got his pro group, and he's got his college group, and he's got his veterans, and he's got his younger guys, and he's got his scouts, and he's got – I would envision Mike Elliott the same way. So Mike Elliott just became kind of what I would call – it's vice president of performance health, but from way that – like that doesn't make sense to us. So I would call him – he's like the general manager of the medical team. So there'll be strength and conditioning coaches, and they'll report to him. And then there'll be training staff, hands-on training staff, that will report to him. And he's going to be able to formulate that and how it works best. How many hands-on guys do you have? How many strength and conditioning coach guys do you have? How many guys that can actually do training work? And so that's what the Jazz just hired, is basically they hired a guy who can act as the general manager of the medical team. That would be kind of how I would envision that if you want to try to grasp it. And it's important. This is now how significantly does he find that there's problems? I don't know. Brian Zettler and Gary Briggs over the years have been very good at what they've done. Brian's moved on. Gary retired. This is the new formation. We've seen over time Dennis Lindsay's been able to put his stamp on this organization in different manners. This is another one of those stamps. Does it take a month? Does it take 12 months? Does it take 24 months? I just talked about training and trainers and strength and conditioning. There's also nutrition. And then you add in the fact that he will be he'll have this facility that is being built that will be as good as any in the league to work with. So that's an important off-season move. It's right. It's not re-signing. It's not a 22-point-a-game scorer, but it's a big piece of the organizational puzzle right there for the Utah Jazz to put together. For 91 years, the Murdoch Auto team started in a small shack in Morgan, Utah. Now they have 6 locations, and that is why August is the anniversary month, and it's time to give you the auto employee discount. So 350 Murdoch Auto employees receive special employee perks, okay? Because this is because Blake's just generous and they're fired up. They're going to pass those on to you. So the anniversary sale, which is probably not the 91st anniversary sale. I mean, you don't have an anniversary sale on your very first anniversary, so it's most could be the 90th, but you might have missed a few. So whatever. They've been doing for the first time ever, you will receive employee pricing on the Hyundai Tucson, the Hyundai Santa Fe, oil changes for life, car washes and brakes for life, all on top of America's best 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty from Hyundai Assurance. So it's a great deal. I'm driving the Tucson right now. The Santa Fe I drove earlier. I've just been blown away by what you can get for the value with Hyundai. And would strongly suggest, it's not a car, honestly, that was on my list of cars before I started driving them. I was over at our country club, the golf club that we belong to, and there was a guy, we parked next to each other. It was pretty funny because it was like Tesla, Hyundai, Jaguar, like something ridiculous. And so I was talking to the other guy, and we were both talking. He's like, well, I actually was driving a car, my car got wrecked, so my rental car was a Hyundai Santa Fe, and I was like, this is really nice. And the rental car company gave me more money back than not the rental car company, the insurance company gave me more money back for my totaled car than what the Hyundai Santa Fe cost. So I went in and got the Hyundai Santa Fe. So he and I are now the Hyundai drivers over there. But he was just talking about how much he loves it. So check it out, MurdochHyundai.com. It's the employee perks for the month of August. There's 91st year. Congratulations to the group over there and to Blake and the Murdoch family for their tradition that they have upheld. All right, let's get to the schedule. You don't care, but the schedule sucks for me. I know you don't care, but I just thought I'd tell you. The reason the schedule sucks for me is, one, I'm gone on my daughter's birthday. Two, of my kids' ski races, I make one run of my son's all year and one of my daughter all year. And then my favorite night of the year is dinner in San Francisco with all my high school friends who have been nice enough to do that. And our first San Francisco game is December 27th on the back end of a back-to-back out of Denver. So not only will nobody be home because it's over Christmas break, but there's no dinner. So my dinner does not happen in San Francisco with my closest friends in the world until March 24th. So those are not issues that are important to you, but I thought I'd share just if you wonder why sometimes a play-by-play announcer thinks it sucks. Also, the new added schedule of break means not as many back-to-backs or no 4 games in 5 nights, but it means that we'll be on the road. If you count a bed or game night on the road as a road night, we're on the road for 79 nights next year. Last year we were on the road for 72. So there's 7 more nights away from home, a full week, in this new schedule than there was because of the added time. It means probably better for player health. It might not be better for spousal health. So let's go through. First of all, the Jazz schedule is really streaky. The month of December is just absolutely brutal. The opening month is not so bad, and there's a stretch in the middle that's not so bad. Interestingly, the Jazz opening month of October, November, they play teams that are projected combined record below 500. They do not do that again for any month, and their December is as difficult as any month of any team. Oklahoma City's closing April, which is just shorter, is almost as hard. Denver's February is almost as hard, but it's fewer games. The Lakers' December is not quite as hard, but it's right up there. But the Jazz December is the hardest month of any team this year on the schedule. The schedule is just really, really streaky. So from December 5th to January 12th, which is in that, the Jazz play the fewest home games, 5. 7 is the next closest. They play 4 back-to-backs, and we do a quarter of our travel, of our 48,000 miles of air travel. We do 12,000 of it in a span from December 5th to January 12th. So that is a brutal, brutal stretch. If you stretch that out from December to February for 2 months, we only play 8 home games. From December 7th, we play Houston. December 8th, we leave to go to Milwaukee. The Jazz play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 home games until February 8th. It's by far no one else in the league plays fewer than 11 in that stretch. 20 road games, 8 home games, and we will do nearly half of our travel, not quite, 19,000 miles of travel in 2 months from December 9th to February 7th. 19,432 miles. So those two stretches are just brutal. And that's where the schedule is just strangely streaky. To start the year, from the start till December 7th, before the streak starts, the Jazz play the most home games, 16 of their 26 games. They do have 6 back-to-backs in that stretch. And then, but the only thing there that's weird is that they play 10 games with a rest disadvantage in that stretch of 26. So even when it's easy, supposedly, they have a rest disadvantage. The other gentle stretch for the Jazz is February 12th to March 12th to March 20th. So almost 5 weeks, and includes an All-Star break. The Jazz have the second fewest travel miles, and they play 11 of 15 at home. So you look at this schedule, and more than anything else that jumps out at me for the Jazz is just, it is, and I don't know whether they'll be able to do it. It is absolutely, it's just so streaky. That's the only way I can describe it. I mean, if you look at it, the Jazz will probably be favored in 9 of the 10 games they play from March 3rd to March 22nd. They'll be favored in 14 of 17. I think they play from October 25th to November 28th. So they better make hay, because I'm not sure they'll be favored in more than one game from December 4th to December 28th. December 4th, the Jazz play Washington at home, at Oklahoma City on a back-to-back, home for a single game against Houston, to Milwaukee, to Chicago, they'll be favored. At Boston, at Cleveland, at Houston, at Oklahoma City, home on a back end of a back-to-back to San Antonio, against San Antonio, home against Oklahoma City, at Denver, at Golden State, home against Cleveland. Wow. That's incredible. And kind of a bummer that you get the Golden State Cleveland back-to-back as a fan. I mean, those are December 27th and December 30th. You know, it's a minor thing, but it would seem as though those would be fun. Those are fun games. One's on the road, at least one's at home. Your Golden State home games, by the way, are January 30th is one of them, and your other Golden State home game, I know we play them twice. Where is your other Golden State home game? Late in the year? No, I can't. Oh, yeah. It's April 10th, last home game of the year. So that's could be, who knows. And Cleveland is that December 30th game. If you want to go to any of these games this year, the way I would suggest you doing it is SeatGeek. SeatGeek is the number one place to get your tickets now. All you have to do is download the SeatGeek app. And on the SeatGeek app, go over to the settings tab, enter in the promo code LOJazz. Once you've entered in the promo code LOJazz, when you make your first purchase, you will end up with a $20 rebate being sent to you. Why use SeatGeek? One, because they compile all of the seats from all around the various ticket places for you in one location. Number two is because they give every ticket a ticket score, so you know which ticket is the best one you can find. And number three, once you've purchased your tickets, it's secure and available for you, and they're on your phone for you and safe. So really, that's the answer. By the way, if you want to do something crazy like go see U2 somewhere, you can look up U2 and it will show you that they're playing December 3rd at Ford Field. The best tickets are $54. If you want to go see them in Indianapolis at Lucas Oil Stadium, the cheapest tickets are $34. If you want to go see them in the Soup in St. Louis at the Dome, cheapest tickets are $58. You can click on it, and then it will give you a ticket score for any one of those. Saturday, September 16th, I can get an amazing ticket deal. They have the best deal. They have the lowest price deal. They have at row 00, and I can get tickets for $50. I'm getting a $96 ticket score on those tickets. So, and also you can punch okay, I want to be center right there. Those tickets, they tell me which one's the best one for me. They're at $213. So it's really a great app to use. SeatGeek, use the promo code LOJazz to get $20 back on your first purchase. All right, a few more scheduling notes for you that I think are interesting. And maybe the most important one. where the schedule really, to me, seems disappointing, is the Jazz. The way the NBA schedule works is that you play every team in your division 4 times, and then the remaining Western Conference teams, you play 4 of them just 3 times, and then you play every other Eastern Conference team twice. So you play the Eastern Conference teams twice, you play your division teams 4 times, and then of the rest of the teams that exist, you play them 4 times or 3 times. The Jazz, if you just list it by quality of team, the Jazz play the Warriors 4 times, the Spurs 4 times, the Rockets 4 times, the Clippers 4 times. Then the next set of teams, the Jazz play the Pelicans 4 times. And you get into the now 5 worst teams in the Western Conference. They play the Mavericks 4 times. They play Sacramento 4 times. They play the Lakers 4 times. And they play the Grizzlies 4 times. So other than the Suns, and they play the sorry, I said that wrong. They play the Mavericks 3 times. They play the Kings 3 times. They play the Lakers 3 times. And they play the Grizzlies 3 times. What that means is that the Jazz play the best teams in the West: Warriors, Spurs, Rockets, Clippers, that they had a chance to not play 4 times, Pelicans 4 times. Of the 5 teams that are not good, that are less good than the Jazz, they play 4 of them 3 times. That's probably 3 wins. Take it off your schedule. And that very well may turn out to be the difference between making the playoffs and not making the playoffs. If you believe Kevin Pelton's projections on the season, then the Jazz are going to be in a fierce battle for the 8th playoff spot with Portland and the Pelicans. The Pelicans have one tough aspect of things. They play 31 games, they play 26 games at a rest disadvantage this year. Oklahoma City plays the most at 31, so they can find their item as well. But the Jazz play 21 games at a rest disadvantage. They play 16 games at a rest advantage. Only Dallas plays fewer games at a rest advantage than the Jazz. And no one plays a tougher schedule than the Jazz because of the fact that Jazz don't play those teams. Those teams. Those 4 teams that it's a little. It'll take time for that to play out. But Memphis is not as good as they were a year ago. Minnesota's better than they were, and we're playing them 4 times because they're in the division. So the Pelicans are better than they were. We're playing them 4 times. But the Jazz, so that's a huge disadvantage for the Jazz. The Jazz play 16 back-to-back games. They're only one of 3 teams to play 16 back-to-back games. The Jazz 21 rest disadvantage games are actually right about in the middle. As I mentioned, Pelicans at 26, Thunder at 31 of their games are at a rest disadvantage. That's a pretty big aspect of things. Other than that, I don't have a lot for you. But overall, this was, to me, not a very favorable schedule for the Utah Jazz. And for my life, but also just, I think, with that disadvantage, not getting the disadvantage rest, that's a huge advantage for us when we have that, as well as the not playing those 4 not very good teams. That single game to me is an enormous factor. We'll probably forget it, but when at the end of the year you end up being a game short of the playoffs, it's probably something we should all try to remember, of where the imbalance was, and that this is not a fair breakdown of a schedule. Today's show was brought to you by Murdoch Hyundai at 4646 South State Street. Check out the anniversary deals, as well as SeatGeek, promo code LOJazz. Have a great day. Thanks for tuning in, and talk to you soon, maybe again later this week.